If you want to climb the ranks in the new Siege season, then you need to know the best solo queue attackers so that you can rank up. These will be in order starting from number 12, who I think is Finka. Now, when you think of good solo queue attackers that do a lot for their team, Finka may not be the first operator to come to mind, but especially if you're a low elo player, having extra heals can be nice. Not only this, but with the LMG recoil buff, it makes it a lot easier to control these LMGs. You don't even have to run ACOG if you don't want to, but the fact of the matter is LMGs have always been broken, and with the ability to control them better, it's an even bigger reason to play Finka than you have already. She also brings 3 flashes if you want to be able to take gunfights, and you're able to pre-fire a lot. If your teammates are rushing, you can easily press your ability button, especially if they're running shields, and give them a huge buff if they're doing some dumb shit. You're also able to give yourself those buffs, you're able to self-revive, so I think for low elo players, Finka is one of the best solo queue attackers you can get into if you don't really know what you're doing and you kind of just start following your team. But if you want an operator that's a bit better for maybe the higher ranked players that are watching this video, then my 11th best solo queue attacker is Hibana. Hibana, I think, is a great solo queue attacker. The only thing stopping her from being higher on this list purely is the fact that she's extremely map situational. There are sometimes better hard breachers to bring. Maybe on Clubhouse, for example, it would be better to bring Ace if you're pushing Gym, or Thermite if you're pushing CC. Either way, it's just not all that good to play Hibana if there's a lot of exterior walls that need to be opened, whereas it would be great to play Hibana on a map like Clubhouse where you're playing the basement, or on Bank when you're playing the basement as well. So she's pretty map dependent, site dependent, and counter dependent. You're able to counter people like Castle, you're able to counter Azami, you're able to counter a lot of different operators with Hibana, and because you're able to switch between 6 to 4 to 2 pellets, Hibana is people's first choice when it comes to versatility, especially versatile hard breachers. She also brings a very good AR, with its only downside being the ammo count. It has very low recoil, and her secondary, the Bearing 9, makes up for the fact that she has low ammo in her AR in the first place. She also brings flash grenades if you want to get kills, or she brings breaching charges if you want to be able to make vert and be able to get the hatches in one operator, making her extremely versatile whether it comes to utility, getting kills, or doing anything in between. The same exact thing can be said for the next best solo queue attacker if you are a new player, and that is Zofia. Now, the reason that I think Zofia is still on this list, even though she is a 3 armor, is purely because of the fact that she brings so much utility. You have 2 range breaching charges that are essentially kind of just impact grenades that come out of a launcher. Then you also have 2 stuns that can be used to stun people for kills, get information off of them based off of the timing of the explosion, or to be able to burn utility for your impacts to destroy shields. Another very slept on part of Zofia's kit is her primary weapons. Her AR is great. Some people may not like the recoil, but it isn't really that big of a deal if you've been playing the game for a while. Speaking of recoil, she also brings the LMG-E, which has 150 rounds. So if you like playing LMGs like I talked about on Finka earlier, this gun is great. She also brings breaching charges, making it to where she can get a lot of walls open and still have range breaching charges in her kit, overall making her very, very powerful purely based off of the amount of destruction that she can bring in one single operator. Me personally, I wouldn't really play Zofia unless anybody else is really not an option. She's kind of just a secondary pick if people like Ash, Hibana, Finka, or any people on this list are taken, but she's still a good operator nonetheless. Now that we've gone over 3 solo queue attackers, the attackers that I'll be talking about next will start to get better and better. The first of which being Ram. Now, the reason that Ram is lower on this list than you might have been expecting is because she is pretty site dependent. You're really only going to use her utility on sites where there is vert above. That pretty much excludes every secondary site in the game, or even first floor sites that just don't have the ability to play vert on them, like the basement of Oregon, or other sites that are kind of like. She is also a 3 armor, so if that was a complaint when you thought about Zofia, this also does apply to Ram. Other than that though, Ram is an amazing solo queue attacker. You have smokes if you want to be able to get the bomb down. You have flashes if you want to be able to get kills. You have the ACOG on an R4C, which is the best assault rifle in the game, or at least one of the best. She also has the LMG-E, just like Zofia, and has the ability to bring an ACOG on it as well, and she has the best vert utility in the entire game. Yes, even better than Buck, unless you're trying to play below a site. She's able to easily make noise if you want to have a planter plant the bomb as well, and overall, if you're able to use her utility, she becomes a crazy killing machine that's able to do rushes, or play vert, or get kills all in one single operator. Now, as you can tell by the past 4 operators that I've been talking about, versatility is a huge thing when it comes to being a good solo queue attacker, and that is why the next operator on my list is Lion. Now, Lion is very versatile, not only in his loadout, but in his way to use his abilities as well. Just in case you were curious, For his primary loadout, he has the V308 assault rifle, which has 50 bullets, very low recoil, and a good amount of damage. Or he has the 417, which is widely considered to be the best DMR in the game. Or he has the SG CQB shotgun, which is widely considered to be one of the best shotguns in the game. He also brings the P9 handgun, which is a great secondary pistol with the ability to bring flash grenades for kills, claymores for runouts and flanks, or frag grenades for any bulletproof utility. Me personally, I'm going to run the frags every single time unless I know that I have people that can do that for me. And the DMR is also a great choice for any single gunfight that you take, but if you're new to the game, I definitely recommend the V308 assault rifle. Now, if that loadout was not versatile enough, let's talk about his actual gadget, the EE1D scanner. The EE1D scanner is a great ability because of how versatile it is, but also how easy it is to use. It has a low skill floor and a high skill ceiling, meaning that you can get a lot of value on this gadget by being completely new to the game, but if you're an experienced vet, you can still get a lot of value out of it as well in those higher elo lobbies. You have the ability to just make people stand still. That's great if you're going to swing them or pre-fire them. You also have the ability to roam clear if you drone someone out and then you scan, so that if they move, you'll know about it, or if they stand still, you can pre-fire them as well. You have the ability to seemingly create rushes, pushes, floods, or take map control very easily with this operator, so the more that you learn in terms of map control and pacing, the better you will be at this operator. But the best part about it is you don't have to be good. If you randomly scan 3 times throughout the round, you're bound to get some usefulness out of this operator, which is why Lion is one of the best SoloQ operators, or at least attackers, in the entire game. Someone else who brings his exact same DMR that I think is just slightly better than Lion for SoloQ is my next operator, Twitch. Now, if you thought that the primary options for Lion were good, they get even better with Twitch. Twitch not only brings a DMR that's very good, but she also brings the same shotgun as Lion. Again, one of the best shotguns in the game. She makes up for it though by being slightly better than Lion by having the option of the F2 instead of the V308. The F2 is an amazing AR if you're able to control its recoil. For most players you won't be, which is why people like to run the 417, but if you're on console, the F2 is kind of a breeze once you get the hang of it. She again brings the P9 handgun just like Lion, but this time instead of bringing flashes and frags, she brings smokes. Smokes are very good, especially for her loadout, because you're able to get an assortment of utility with her Twitch drone, and then you don't have to worry about burn for your smokes. You smoke and get the plant down without having to worry about any utility because your Twitch drone pretty much shot everything. Speaking of Twitch's drones, let's talk about how good her drones are in a SoloQ environment. Are they playing Goyo? Are they playing Mira? Are they playing any electronic gadget? Are they playing wall denial? Is there someone down that you need to finish off but you don't want to have to swing them? Twitch is able to kill everything that I just talked about. Fenrir and Goyo are very, very oppressive, especially on the lower elo, and the ability to have Twitch to deal with literally all of that is great. She also has infinite range on her taser, meaning the bigger the map is, the better she is going to shine, especially on maps like Bank, where default cameras are super far away. She's not site dependent, she's not map dependent. The only thing that she's particularly dependent on is the opponent's utility. If they're not bringing anything that Twitch can counter, then oftentimes she can be kind of useless in terms of a utility. But don't be mistaken, she's still a powerhouse of an operator. Like I said, she brings smoke grenades and an F2 or a DMR, which is enough to be able to do a lot of damage. The DMR can make sightlines that weren't previously there, or completely counter a zombie with less than 1 magazine. So Twitch, even if your utility is not getting that much value, is still a great SoloQ operator for the majority of players. The same exact thing can be said for the next operator on the 6th spot of this list, which is Jackal. The reason Jackal is so low is because oftentimes he's just banned a lot. So I didn't want to make a list with Jackal anywhere in the top 3 telling you to go play him, when in reality you're not going to be able to play him at all, so you should really focus on other operators. But if Jackal is unbanned though, he is one of the best roam clearers in the entire game. If you drone out the initial room that you're going to be hopping into to take map control, you can easily see foot scans. If there are no feet and it hasn't been more than 30 seconds into the round, then you know that no one is around, so you're able to actually roam clear extremely quickly. If they are trying to roam at all, at least near you, you'll be able to scan their feet and get a ping on them that you and your entire team can see. He brings some of the best primaries in the entire game of the attack, with the PDW brought on Osa and his own AR. He has a secondary shotgun to be able to make vert, or to be able to make him rotates, as well as smoke grenades to be able to scan people through smoke and to provide himself cover even for a plant. Overall, really the only reason that he is high on this list is because of his ability. His ability is really good. It's very easy for new players to get a grasp of, and if you're tired of people roaming a bunch and your teammates still try to go into the roam clear for some reason, Jackal could be a great help for you and your team who are trying to kill roamers. Speaking of killing people, let's go into the 5th best SoloQ attacker in the entire game, which is going to be Ashe. The reason Ashe is so good good is purely because if you are a fragger, you're trying to go for kills and you're good at doing that, Ashe is the best person that you can play. In terms of her loadout, she doesn't really bring anything special for her utility. She brings breaching charges and claymores, nothing too crazy. But she does bring an R4C with an ACOG or a G36C. If you're on console, don't bother running the G36C. The R4C is easy to control enough. If you're on PC, it can go pretty much either way. The G36C has absolutely no recoil on PC, while the R4C is a bit harder to control on PC than console. So typically I'll switch depending on if I'm using a long range map and holding long angles, or if I'm just kind of running and gunning and I want to use the R4C. Her ability also is very good. Her ability can counter Mira, can counter Maestro, any bulletproof glass at all, and can counter any bulletproof utility. You can put her Ashe charge on the other side of a doorway and completely counter any Goyos, Fenrirs, Elamines, traps, or anything on the other side of that doorway, and you're able to make yourself rotate on the fly and fly in afterwards because you're a 3-speed. That's the best part. She brings an amazing gun, the R4C, and she's a 3-speed, making her excel at not only getting frags, but especially in those 1v1 environments, going against an Ashe is almost a lose-lose scenario. If you want to talk about a win-win scenario though, take a look at the 4th best solo queue attacker in the entire game, which is Gridlock. Now you might be surprised to see Gridlock this high on the list, but like I said earlier, versatility is the name of the game when you're trying to determine who the best solo queue attacker in the entire game is. If you want to know why she's so versatile, let's take a look at her loadout. She has the F90 assault rifle, which is an amazing assault rifle, or the M249 saw, which is just as good of an LMG. She also brings the super shorty if you want to be able to make yourself rotate, head holes, vert, or anything in between. And for secondary utility, the versatility doesn't stop there. She brings smokes for a plant, she brings EMPs for utility or to get a wall open, and she can bring frag grenades for bulletproof utility. If you want something done and you want it done with Gridlock, I promise you Gridlock can do it. Not to mention just how good her flank watch is. I genuinely think that Gridlock is the best flank watch operator in the entire game. With an air jab, all you have to do is shoot the air jab once and you can flank. With a zero cam, typically you and your teammates aren't watching the cam for flank because it's a solo queue environment anyways, so Gridlock just naturally is the best choice, because at least with Gridlock, it's doing a bunch of damage and they're having to shoot it multiple times and it makes a bunch of noise when they do, at least alerting you when they finally go for that flank. Also, she has 4 sets of tracks, meaning you can watch flanks and you can use it for plants if you want to cut off rotations when you're getting the bomb down. Not only is her ability versatile, but again, so is her loadout, making her one of the best solo queue attackers in the entire game. Someone who is slightly better than Gridlock, and somebody who I guarantee you were expecting to be on this list though, is Dokkaebi. Now Dokkaebi, the reason she is not number 1 or number 2 is because she suffers as the same issue that Jackal does. She is just banned too much. Although I will say, even compared to Jackal, she has the best roam clearing ability in the entire game, unless you have a coordinated Deimos stack. She's also able to hack cams from anybody that she roam clears, and if she calls, nobody who is dead or alive can even look at the cameras. She brings a great DMR or the Boss G, which is absolutely broken. She brings the SMG-12 or a Gon 6, and she can bring flashes, which is great for getting kills and burning, or smokes, which is great for getting plants down, or she can bring EMPs for getting the wall open. She's just as versatile as Gridlock, but brings an arguably better loadout and an arguably better piece of utility as well, which is why I had to put her slightly above Gridlock, but only number 3 on this list. Now that we've gone over the number 3 spot, it's finally time to go over the best 2 solo queue attackers in the entire game. And to absolutely zero people's surprise, the number 2 spot is going to be Ace. Now I debated putting Ace in number 1 or number 2, but I'm going to put Ace in number 2 for one specific reason. Ace, unfortunately, is just slightly map dependent. You can bring an Ace on every single site for every single map, but you don't really want to. Like, there's no real reason to bring an Ace for the bottom floor kitchen of Coastline unless you're getting the triple wall open, but even then, your teammates are probably all rushing into Sunrise with Ashe and Blitz anyways, so, you know, like, there's just better times to play Ace. Are you gonna get value? Sure. Do you have an AK, which is one of the best guns in the entire game? Sure. But Ace lacks versatility. You kind of just get walls open. There's not much to be really learned with Ace. You don't really have any impactful secondary gadgets either. The only saving grace for this operator is the gun and the ability. But even with that, the gun is so good, and so is the ability. It is the quickest hard breach in the entire game if you're counting the initial explosion, not counting the secondary one as well. He's able to use 3 of these at one time, making a great sized hole to be able to run, crouch, or vault through. And again, the gun is just so good that you don't even need to play as a support. You can play as a fragger that just so happens to be able to get walls open. But if you really want to talk about an operator that has it all, where you can play any sort of playstyle that you want to, then you need to take a look at the best solo queue attacker in the game right now. And that is Buck. Now again, I debated putting Buck and Ace in either first or second for a while, but the reason I put Buck in first was purely because of one thing. Buck just brings more utility, and he's more versatile, and you can literally play him every single round of every single attack, and you will get value. Let's take a look purely at his loadout. Now, minus the fact that Buck lost the Gon 6 in a pretty recent update, his loadout is still pretty versatile. He brings the C8, which is a very, very good assault rifle if you can control the recoil, or the Cam RS, which is a pretty good DMR as well, with its only issue really being the magazine size. The Mark 1 9mm is a great secondary pistol, but none of that really matters. His secondary utility really is where Buck shines. You see, Buck can either be played as a flex, or he can be played as an entry. If you use the amazing assault rifle to get kills, and you use his ability to be able to make yourself rotations to get kills, you also can bring flash grenades to help you get those kills, making his utility pretty cohesive with itself. But if you don't want to do that, and you want to be more of a flex playstyle, you also have hard breaching charges. These can get walls open, but more importantly, if you're playing Buck, chances are you're playing Vert as well, meaning that you can play the Vert, and you can get the hatches all in one operator, which is extremely powerful, especially when you bring such a good versatile ability and a great gun, which we already talked about on Hibana being a great factor into why she was on the list in the first place. But really, the best part about Buck and why you should play him and why he is the best solo queue operator in the entire game is his primary ability, the skeleton key. It's literally just an underbarrel shotgun, but the fact of the matter is it just makes everything quicker. You make holes quicker. You can make holes from long range. You can make a lot of them. You can make vert. You can make vert from below, which no one else can really reliably do. You can make rotates for yourself, head holes for yourself. You can get out of tight situations in a pinch by dropping a hatch that was normally soft, or making yourself a rotate behind you. There's just so much you can do as Buck on the fly, and the better you are as a player with your game sense and your positioning, the better Buck just seems to be. Paired up again with his secondary utility, and you can begin to see why I put him at the #1 spot of this list. But with it out of the way, my name's Alka. Tell me what operators I missed, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.